Hello, hello there. It's your girl Valerie Mason Chase again, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Marriage Beyond the Breach. And sometimes I forget to say this, and I usually will say it at the end of the broadcast, but tonight I want to say it at the very beginning, and that is to subscribe, like, and share. And of course, I'm assuming that you're going to like the podcast. So hopefully, liking it and sharing it will not be a problem for you. But anywho, as always, I thank everyone who tunes in live. I thank everyone who tunes in later because we know time and distance is not a barrier. First and foremost, it's not a barrier to God and anything that He may want to do. And it's not a barrier when it comes to receiving information and the sharing of knowledge. So tonight, we're going to be talking about something that is known as relationship OCD. And I first really heard about that term a few months ago, sometime over the summer, when I was thinking about the different topics that I wanted to talk about and address here on the podcast. And it was very interesting to me. And anytime that I hear about something for the first time or I learn something for the first time, I don't assume that everybody else knows about it because, I think that there could possibly be others who may not have heard of it or may have just heard the term, but don't fully understand what it is. So that's our topic for tonight is relationship OCD. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about marriage beyond the breach and also include where that name came from because I've had, excuse me, I've had several people, a lot of people ask, where does that name come from? What is that all about? What essentially does it mean, marriage beyond the breach? Well, the name derived because I'm married. My husband and I got married in 1981, and that's 44 years for anyone who's counting. And as you might imagine, over the course of 44 years, he and I have experienced possibly everything that can negatively impact a relationship. We have experienced a wide range of things. And the way I look at it is that where we are now, we've gotten beyond what was we've gotten beyond the breach that was the result of some of those negative things that impacted our relationship. So that's where the name comes from. It's about having a marriage that you can recognize beyond the breach of whatever that breach is. It's different things in different relationships. For some, it could be infidelity. For some, it could be addictions. For some, it could be in-law issues. For some, it could be blending families. So there's a wide variety of things that can potentially result in a breach in the relationship. So when I was considering starting my counseling and coaching practice, that's the name that came to my mind. I like to say that's the name that God gave me. For those of you who are believers, you can get that, how God will sometimes drop things into our spirit that we can now pick up and run with. So that's where that name came from, marriage beyond the breach. And for those of you who are watching who may be married, you might be engaged, you might be seriously dating, I just want to share a little bit about marriage because we hear all the time marriage is so hard, marriage is a lot of work, and that's true, but not as true as I think some people may take it to be. It's not a drudgery kind of work. It's essentially effort. Having a healthy marriage, a healthy relationship requires effort. And it's beautiful when both partners can be a part of that effort that results in the relationship being healthy. But even if only one person is seeking to be better in the relationship, that can still have a significant impact on the overall health of that relationship. So even if you're with someone and they're not trying to grow, or they're not trying to learn, or they're not trying to understand and move forward in the relationship, if that is on your heart, you do it. Do what you know to be the right thing to do, regardless of whether your partner does or not. Because so many times people will say, well, they're not trying, so I'm not going to try. He not putting in no effort, so I'm not putting in the effort. She's not doing anything, so I'm not going to do anything. That's a recipe for disaster. Because the only person that we have control over is ourselves. We have no control over our partner. We have nothing outside of our circle of influence. Inside that circle, I should say circle of control. Inside that circle of control, we are in there by ourselves, just us and God, because we're the only ones that we have control over. So I encourage partners to be more introspective and self-reflective than pointing fingers at their partner and looking at what they may or may not be doing. Because when we look outside of ourselves, that is tantamount to assuming that everything wrong with the relationship is because of the other person. And that's just not so. It requires two people to make a relationship. It requires two people to break a relationship. Now, of course, there are times when one person may be more at fault than the other for the demise of the relationship, but both parties have contributed in some way, shape, or form. So I just want to encourage the people out there who are listening, whether you're married, you're engaged, you are in a serious relationship, to hold up a mirror rather than, and make sure the reflective part is facing you and not towards your partner, because we are the only ones that we have control over when it comes to change and growth within the context of our marriage. So I am going to bring on our guest in a few minutes. She's running a little bit behind, so hopefully she will be signing on soon. And as soon as she does, I'm going to bring her on. But in the meantime, I just want to talk briefly a little bit about what this relationship OCD is, what it's all about. Oh, here she is, Speak of the Angel, and her name is Angel. So I'm going to bring her on. That is perfect timing. Perfect timing, Dr. Angel.
Hello, hello.
Let me move
How are
myself.
you? How are
I,
you?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. I hope you didn't rush too much. I hope you were able to at least take a breath before you
Yes.
signed on here. So, for those of you who are not familiar with Dr. Angel, I'm going to read her bio. Dr. Angel Windham is a licensed clinical social worker and certified clinical social worker. She is the founder of New Creation Counseling Services LLC, which is her private practice. It's in Princeton, New Jersey now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Dr. Angel primarily works with children, adolescents, and young adults. However, Dr. Angel has experience working with clients of all ages and has worked over the past 15 years in various treatment settings. Dr. Angel is trained to meet her clients where they are and help them achieve their goals and get unstuck. Dr. Angel has various resources in her toolkit, including, but not limited to, play therapy techniques, cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as CBT, and relies on the strength based theory to point out just how resilient they really are. Dr. Angel is a wife and mother of two handsome young men. She is a
Thank you.
believer in Jesus Christ and works with her clients to incorporate prayer and daily Bible reading as ways to cope. Dr. Angel also meets with clients who are not of the Christian faith as well. She has earned her Bachelor of Arts degree from Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, her master's in social work from King University, and her doctorate in social work in 2021 from Capella University. And Dr. Angel's personal motto is Today I Take Action. So,
Yes.
again, welcome, welcome, Dr. Angel. I appreciate you being here again. For those who have watched episodes in the past, you've been here several times before, and I appreciate every time that you show up. So, tonight we are talking about relationship OCD. Those who are watching
Hmm.
live, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we will address them as we go. So, Dr. Angel, to get started,
Hmm.
how would you define relationship OCD in a way that's understandable to everyday couples who might perhaps be struggling with it, but they don't have the language for it?
So it could be both people in a relationship could have relationship OCD. I need to first say that. But it
Mm-hmm.
could also just be one person. So
Mm-hmm.
for this example, let's say one of the partners has relationship OCD and the other partner is trying to figure out what's going on. Why do they feel a certain way
Mm-hmm.
within the relationship? And so that person that has the relationship OCD could be very clingy, could be always calling the other partner to see
Mm.
where they are or what do they think about them, and very concerned about their standing in the relationship. Do you love
Yeah.
me? Do you like me? Um, why didn't you communicate with me today? Throughout your day, why didn't you call me or text me? So the
Mm.
person who has a relationship OCD, they keep having different thoughts, and then from those thoughts they feel compelled, or they feel these
Yeah.
compulsions to then reach out to the partner and get some type of security around if
Mm-hmm.
this relationship is stable, if it's going anywhere, or things like that. They're really worried and really concerned about the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what um, might distinguish relationship OCD from what we might consider typical relationship doubts or concerns?
So typical relationship doubts or concerns, we would say, are normal, right? We would say these typical relationship concerns, you know, uh, about where we're gonna go to eat, or maybe,
Mm.
whose house are we gonna go to for Thanksgiving or something. But then if it is a relationship OCD, it goes beyond that. Those normal
Mm-hmm.
concerns. If we go to, your parents' house to eat, are you gonna pay attention to me? What are they gonna think about me and you and our relationship? They're not gonna be able to, maybe the partner that has the relationship OCD may not be able really to socialize with other people in the family. They may feel
Mm.
threatened, if they see their partner speaking to their favorite cousin or something, you know, um, because they want the attention to always be on them and always be on the relationship. They're very, when we say OCD, they're very obsessed, with
Mm-hmm.
thoughts of the relationship.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times we talk about relationship OCD with like maybe teenagers or younger people that may, they have to call or constantly be texting or constantly be on Snapchat or TikTok or something around that person. They if they have relationship OCD and the relationship ends, they're blocking that person on the phone, they're blocking them on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. They're just, because the relationship is just so intertwines with everything that they do. Somebody with relationship OCD, they don't talk to the friends that they were talking to before the relationship, all
Mm-hmm.
of those
Mm-hmm.
different contacts. Their life becomes consumed by the relationship. So it's
Wow.
not normal. When
Yeah.
friends
Yeah.
don't hear from them, even family members, don't hear from them and everything because they're so obsessed with their relationship.
Yeah. You mentioned intrusive thoughts earlier, that
Mhm.
the person with relationship OCD may have intrusive thoughts. So, from your perspective, what might be some of the most common intrusive thoughts that people with relationship OCD might experience?
They're always well, typically they're thinking about, themselves too. They're concerned about, do I really like this person? Am I really in love with this person? Um, is there somebody out there better for this person or somebody out there a better partner for me? You know,
Mm,
and then also they may have intrusive thoughts at like, is this person really at work or are they with someone else?
mm,
Are they seeing somebody else? Are they really into me? Are they really into the other person? So that is some of the thoughts that they could be having. you know are
yeah.
they going to come home after work? And then are they really coming home because they want to be in this relationship? Or
Mm,
so they have a lot of different intrusive thoughts that are not necessarily positive, right? They're negative thoughts that
mm-hmm,
they could be
mm-hmm.
having. And then
Yeah.
that's when I was saying it leads to the compulsion of kind of, wanting to be around the person all the time, wanting to know, do they feel as if they're good enough for them? Um, Monitoring the person. This would be somebody that wants to have how to find the person. How you could put different apps on people's phones and be able to
Tracking.
find things, track them and everything. This
Mm,
probably be a relationship. Somebody who's in relationship OCD would probably also put those things on people so that they could track them too. I don't know what all the different tracking devices are, but they would put them on them just to monitor them. And
yeah.
they would compare their relationship, you know, um to other people, and say,
Mm,
is our relationship as good as your relationship with this person? They might even go back to their exes and say, do you still think about your ex or whatever have you? So
mm-hmm,
a lot
mm-hmm.
a lot goes in to their mind and their thoughts and the compulsions that they have,
Yeah.
with relationship OCD.
You know, it sounds like it can also fall into the category of an abusive relationship, because that it
Mhm.
sounds like a lot. It sounds like mental abuse or
Mhm.
emotional abuse when you're on that partner 24/7, and
Mhm.
needing to be up under them all the time and always questioning and questioning and questioning. And if you send a text, because some people will send a text to their partner, and if they don't answer in 5 minutes, then
Mhm.
they're upset, and then they might call them, and then they do what do they call that, psycho calling, where you just call them repeatedly over and over and over
Mhm.
and over and over and over. Within a 15 minutes time frame, you could have 25 or 30 missed calls from this individual.
Yeah.
So is
Well,
that something that someone in relationship OCD, that's the type of behavior they would engage in? Yes.
yeah, it's a lot of it is based around anxiety, Valerie. The
Mm,
person is
mm-hmm,
very anxious about
mm-hmm,
their
mm-hmm,
standing in the relationship. And
mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm.
that's why they have those thoughts and that's why they have those compulsions because
Yeah.
of their anxiety. It's, a lot of anxiety underlying there.
Mm. So that would lead one to think that treating the anxiety, which is underlying the OCD, could help to minimize some of the OCD that's sitting on that
Yes.
anxiety.
Mhm. Yes. If the person got some
Mm-hmm.
treatment for the anxiety that's underlying it, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, when someone has relationship OCD and they're so obsessed with the relationship and they have this anxiety and they're not treating it, even just going for a walk, taking deep breaths, getting some type of, you know, something
Yeah.
away from the relationship, that can help them. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
But I would imagine it's challenging to convince or encourage someone with relationship OCD to even shift their focus away from the relationship even a little bit.
No, they can't.
That could
Yeah.
be very challenging if even
Yeah.
even consider to do something on their own without the partner.
No, they're not gonna wanna do that
Yeah.
because then that's still not reassuring them that the relationship is intact, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
they but then giving them reassurance could be a lot too. Because
Yeah,
then
because yeah,
they're not ever convinced, not
they're
ever
not
satisfied.
convinced. So then, that being the case, how might that impact the other partner, who is the target
Mhm.
for constantly wanting or needing that reassurance? What can that look like?
Yeah, that partner actually may end up being resentful towards their mate,
Hmm.
their partner, because they're always
Hmm.
saying, I need to know if you really like me or if you really love me or if this is a real relationship or why,
Yeah.
when I texted you, you got back to me 10 minutes instead of in 5 minutes or whatever, so that person may end up being very angry, very
Mm.
resentful, towards that partner,
Hmm.
may
Hmm.
feel like, okay, they never trust me, you know, and then they may want to end the relationship
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
after some time.
Yeah.
Everybody has their point,
Yeah, their limit.
their
And
limit.
then once they reach it, that's it. They can walk out. But then I can imagine that the person with relationship OCD with that underlying anxiety, if their partner ends the relationship, could lead to a full blown panic attack and can
Yes,
exacerbate that anxiety.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
And there's also, like I said, there's also a time where both people in the relationship could have relationship OCD.
Lord have
So
mercy.
then so then they're both like very clingy and they're both,
Yeah.
the world is they're both consumed by the relationship. So if
Mm,
either one of them ends, it could be toxic for either one of them because
yeah,
both of them have the relationship OCD. Both of them are anxious. Both of them, you know, don't don't see how unhealthy the
that
relationship
is.
is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's scary. And I think it would be doubly scary if both partners had relationship OCD and they had children, because I could see the children being overlooked completely.
Mhm.
Because either one partner wants to be all up under the other one, or the two of them just want to be up under each other and tell the children just to, the children, there's a potential for neglect.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's scary. That's not a healthy environment for children to be in, and that makes me think about some parents, and unfortunately, well, my experience has been it happens more with women than with men. I don't know if men do it just as much, but very often women will choose a partner over their child
Mm.
because they are so attached to this man that they just neglect the children, sometimes abuse the children, sometimes abandon the children. If it comes down to choosing between the man or the child. I think that would be an extreme case of relationship OCD, probably with some other comorbidities, I would imagine.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
So so yeah, it is in some cultures that, they do look that, okay, once we have children, we're still going to put the man up on this pedestal, the woman,
Hmm.
and the children do get neglected, or they do get abused because of whatever, no supervision or different things going on.
Yeah.
Because yes, the woman is still, supposed to be devoted to the man. And
Hmm.
so then the
Hmm.
children, like you said, they're not receiving the attention that they need.
Yeah.
And I don't know necessarily, you know, why that is in some cultures that that happens, but
Hmm.
it is
Hmm.
true that, the men are put up on this pedestal,
Yeah.
and the woman, and also then the children have to follow suit too,
Hmm.
and they
Hmm.
have to kind of pay homage to their father, and they're left without the things that they need. So
Yeah.
that kind of gets tricky as far as relationship OCD, because um it's still a little bit different, that that's also ingrained in the culture.
And the
So
culture.
they may
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
see it as a dysfunction.
Right. Right. That's very true. Yeah. They probably would not see it as a dysfunction because they saw their parents do it, they saw their grandparents do it, and probably their great grandparents do it. And they're kind of just following suit. And
That
that,
continues that
that
pattern, that cycle.
continues. Yeah. Yeah. So they wouldn't see it as toxic. So even if someone like that came in for counseling, that could be extremely challenging. Trying to navigate uh, promotion of a healthy relationship
Mhm.
when that looks totally different from
Mhm.
what that person has always grown up with and identified as a healthy relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, shifting their thinking about the whole family system, the whole family unit,
Hmm. Hmm.
that
Hmm.
would be quite difficult, because
Yeah.
it would be ingrained in them probably from generations, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
But it is possible. It is
Yeah.
possible to shift that dynamic and to
Yeah.
help them to understand what could be healthy for them, you know.
Yeah. So, what about attachment styles?
Mhm.
How does relationship OCD intersect with attachment styles? What might that look like?
I think that if someone has an anxious attachment style, then, they could be susceptible to being the partner with
Mm-hmm.
relationship OCD. Now, I don't know how long the relationship would last if the other partner had avoidant personality, I mean, avoidant attachment style,
Hmm. Hmm.
and they avoided the other person, that relationship probably wouldn't last long, you know.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I talked about, sometimes with the relationship OCD, both people in the relationship may have anxiety, and then that continues the whole, relationship OCD, because both of them have that anxious attachment, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
But for the person who has the avoidant attachment, that relationship is not going to last too long, because they're going to
Yeah.
avoid the anxious person, you know.
Yeah. That's very true. The avoidance, the avoidant just wants to be left alone
Yeah,
sometimes
but
and
he'll be
have a
like,
minute of
no, this
peace.
is too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Now, I will say there are some people that need to feel needed. They need to feel
Yeah.
always, and I guess that's still with the anxious attachment style. So you know, they'll
That
welcome the
attention.
relationship OCD.
Hmm.
They'll
Hmm.
actually,
Hmm.
feel like their ego is stroked, because now this person's always texting me, this person always wants to be around me, you know.
Mm.
So for some people, it works for them. They don't
Yeah.
mind if the person is clingy. They don't mind if the person depends only on them. And that's when we get into a little bit of talking about and I think we talked a little bit about this in the last show, some narcissistic traits,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they want this person to kind of, put them up on that pedestal and always call them and always, you know, always text them and always wonder, well, what do they think about me? What do they think about the relationship? And they actually may leave that person, on edge
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
they know the control they have.
Yeah. Wow. For that other person who welcomes it, for them is validating for them, and that's why they can accept it so easily. But in a situation like that, I think it would be very easy for the person with relationship OCD to be manipulated and
Yes,
taken advantage of.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's
So
unfortunate,
it's
but it
very
does
unfortunate.
happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It does. It absolutely does. You know, I've watched these shows that my guilty pleasures, and one show that I just started watching. I'm binge watching this show, and it's on Peacock, and it's called Love After Lockup. So the whole
Okay.
premise of the show is that these inmates,
Mhm.
they strike up these relationships with people on the outside.
Mhm.
Typically, it's a woman on the outside striking up something with a man on the inside who has been incarcerated. Some of them have been incarcerated for decades,
Mhm.
periods of time. And it's so funny. Earlier, I was watching my guilty pleasure show, Love After Lockup, and there's this one couple. She, to as far as everything we've talked about, she is the epitome of relationship OCD,
Mhm.
because and there's nothing this guy can do for that will open up her eyes and get her to end the relationship, and they're not even married.
Mhm.
And he's
She
just
has the relationship OCD.
she has a relationship OCD, and he is sucking it up. In
Yeah.
fact, he said in his one of his camera interviews that she just loves me, and I can pretty much do anything and she'll take me
Mhm.
back. So that is the dynamic that you were just describing.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an old episode. Otherwise, I would see if I could find this woman somewhere and say, "Girl, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up." So, what about this whole idea of soulmates? How people think that someone is their soulmate? How
Mhm.
might that feed into either distress or confusion for people who are suffering from relationship OCD?
So this woman that you're talking about, even with this love after lockup,
Hmm.
and she's suffering from relationship OCD, but she may find that this man is her soulmate. And so she doesn't want to leave the relationship, even though she may recognize that he's
Hmm. Hmm.
manipulating her and mistreating her. She
Yeah.
may not want to leave because she feels he's her soulmate, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And also people talk about with soulmate, people talk about soul ties too.
Hmm.
Now, when you're in these relationships, you could get a soul tie. I know this is so spiritual and deep for some people, but
Yeah.
interacting with people and not being healthy yourself, having this relationship OCD and
Yeah.
interacting with someone and they're manipulating you, you could have this soul tie to this person that you may have to, not just deal with this, from a medical psychiatric, going to see your therapist, but you may not have to pray with somebody, fast
Hmm.
about
Hmm.
this because you could have a soul tie. Not just,
Hmm.
oh,
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
thinking this person is my soulmate, but then finally realizing they're not, but you still
Yeah.
feel tied to the person because of, some spiritual forces that have gone on.
Yeah. 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 I get that. Yeah. I get that. They might be in need of some deliverance.
Exactly.
Whatever
Exactly.
that may look like for them.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it doesn't look the same for everyone, but they could probably benefit from that, whatever it may look like. This whole idea of soulmates, I'm not so sure uh, about this whole concept of soulmates. Yeah,
That there's one person
yeah,
that's
I
for
just don't think
everybody.
so. Yeah, because now let's say you get married at 25
Mhm.
and your spouse passes away when you're 30. So what
Mm.
that mean? Ain't
That you
nobody
have
else
no
out there
other
for you?
soulmate in your life.
No. I just don't I just can't wrap my brain around that there's just one individual in the whole planet of humans that's just meant for you, just you and them.
Mhm.
Now, I understand how it can feel like that when you have a very strong emotional connection with your partner.
Mhm.
um I would never say that me and the Cookie Man are soulmates, but we
Uh-huh.
do have a very strong emotional connection. And when I think about the things that occurred prior to our meeting and how
Mm.
they all aligned, and how if one thing had not happened, we would not have met. It would be very easy for me to say, oh yeah, he's my soulmate, because if he hadn't broken his hand or something and had ended up going into the Air Force, I wouldn't have met him. you
Mhm.
know or if I hadn't borrowed my niece's boyfriend's car that night and drove to Broadway International in Manhattan, if I hadn't gone there that night, I wouldn't have met him, because I mean there were things that occurred
Mm.
that resulted in us meeting. So it would be very easy to think that, oh, this is my soulmate, and this is just what God intended.
Mhm.
um you know I could think that, but then I think about all the hell we went through. Did God intend that too?
No.
Because we went through some hell, Dr. Angel.
Mhm. These things happen in relationships,
They
right?
happen in relationships. So anywho, that's just my thoughts on
Mhm.
soulmate. I've always really questioned if there's just one person for each human being on the planet, and not not anybody else. So we talked about anxiety being underneath the relationship
Mhm.
OCD. So what might the treatment look like if you're going to use some evidence-based frameworks for treatment? What would that look like?
For treatment.
Mm-hmm.
So, if the whole couple is coming in, for treatment, you want to
Mm-hmm.
talk to them and see, do both parties have, relationship OCD? Um, you know, if not, the party that does, you do want to talk to them about it. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in that therapy session, there is a way to work with people who have relationship OCD. Just like with typical OCD, they talk a lot about exposure therapy. And
Mm-hmm.
so this
Mm-hmm.
would be, maybe this looks like for that couple, that if the husband is the one that has relationship OCD and he's constantly texting the wife, that maybe he does text, but for him, exposure and response therapy would be that she's not responding. Maybe she's a teacher, so he can text, but she can't respond until it's her lunch break. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so he has to accept that,
Right.
that that's what it is. And then he'd have to come back and tell in the therapy session how comfortable or how uncomfortable he felt, and, discuss, what those things were.
Mm-hmm.
But he'd have to start to resist the urge of maybe coming up to the school because she hasn't responded to the text or whatever have you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
CBT is something that they say for relationship OCD, and that's definitely, looking at those thoughts behind things, because with OCD, there's a lot of intrusive thoughts, like we said earlier. So looking at those thoughts, really pulling those thoughts apart and saying, are they realistic thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
Those
Mm-hmm.
what if thoughts that they have, is this something that is truly, a reality and happening? Or is this
Mm-hmm.
just your mind just going different places,
Yeah.
just kind of talking about that? And that goes into also mindfulness based CBT, where the person is mindful
Mm-hmm.
and is able to say, okay, this is actually an intrusive thought that I'm having. And
Yeah.
with that being said, I don't have to act on it. I don't have to act on this intrusive thought. I can actually be in control. I can actually counteract it with another thought. You know, like I
Mm-hmm.
said,
Mm-hmm.
often the thoughts are negative. And so being able to counteract that negative thought with a positive thought, you
Mm-hmm.
know, being able to have some positive affirmations of your own, so you're not just always reaching out to that partner for
Yeah.
reassurance, but being able to reassure yourself, and they also talk about, with relationship OCD and therapy, finding out what are the support systems for that
Mm-hmm.
relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
being
Mm-hmm.
able to, connect with those different supports, so that that person is not always connecting with their partner, but
Yeah.
sometimes reaching out to the other supports in their life, which, like you said,
Yeah.
they're not going to want to do. But that's a part of the work.
Yeah. That's a part of the work. Yeah. And if you want to get healthier, we have to change something, because if we continue to do what we've always done, we'll always get what we always got, and there won't
Mhm,
be any changes. So there has
mhm.
to be something that we do differently, even if it's the smallest thing. And then when you get used to doing that, then do another really small thing, and so on and so on
Exactly.
and
That's
so
what the
on, as
exposure.
long as you
Mhm,
are making forward progress, as
mhm.
you are making those changes. There was something I just thought of. See, I should have written it down because it flew out of my brain when you were talking. Oh, about treatment modalities. I wonder about utilizing IFS for someone with relationship OCD to explore,
Mhm.
because I would imagine that
Part. Yeah.
dealing with relationship OCD is very uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And I would imagine that there's a part of them that does not want to engage in
Yes.
that compulsive obsessive behaviors. So I'm
Mhm.
thinking about possibly using IFS, and that, for those who are listening, that's internal family systems as opposed
Mhm.
to just general family systems. That's internal, when you're looking at the different
Mhm.
parts of yourself. I have become fascinated with IFS, and I've
Yes.
started to incorporate it in sessions with a lot of my
Yes.
clients, and
Mhm.
I'm blown away
Mhm.
about some of the connections that are made in the process of utilizing that. So I think that might be an option also, to
Yeah.
explore
Yeah, definitely.
IFS therapy with someone with
Mhm.
relationship OCD, especially the part that doesn't want to do it,
Mhm. Mhm.
and have conversations with that part.
Mhm.
So, we talked about the anxious behavior, the thoughts, intrusive thoughts that someone is having, and then the behaviors that result from that. So, how can a couple, let's say, build emotional safety in the midst of navigating
Mhm.
relationship OCD?
In researching this, I want to say, Valerie, that there is a relationship OCD cycle, and
Mm,
so that
hmm
would be important to talk with the couple about, to
hmm
build this safety, right? So with this relationship OCD cycle, there's first, that partner is having these thoughts, right? So then they're first having these thoughts about the other partner, and being able to pick up on certain cues. When they have those thoughts, then they start to have those compulsions, right? And that other partner being able to pick up and say, okay, it's not that this person does not trust me, that they're asking me, why do I
Mm,
see on the tracker that you're at the store and you said that you was going to be at work?
mhm,
It's my
mhm.
lunch break and I went and stepped out and ran an errand, but it's not that they don't trust me. It's because they had a thought. That's why they're texting me, asking me about my whereabouts. I need to be able to reassure them so that they know that they're safe in the relationship.
Mhm, mhm.
I didn't step out just to be lying to you. I'm actually on my way back
Yeah.
to the job. I had to get an errand done, you know, and just to be able to make the relationship safe for someone who has relationship OCD, they need to feel as though they can trust that partner and that the
Mm,
partner is being open with them. Um, on the same token, though, the partner needs to be able to have some autonomy from them
right.
too.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have to check in all the time and
Right. Right.
say, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I'm going to the bathroom or I'm going here or going there. They should be able to have some autonomy. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
why are you leaving the room? Will be something that someone with relationship OCD has.
Mhm.
And they need to be able to no, okay, let me learn my partner's patterns. Even sometimes people with relationship OCD, it's not just because of the anxiety. They may have been hurt in the past. They may
Yeah.
have been cheated
Yeah.
on. So we do
Mhm.
need to acknowledge that. They may have had, some mistreatment, and
Yes.
that's why they have, that's one of the factors
Mhm.
why
Mhm.
they may feel anxious in the relationship and have the relationship OCD. So the person does want to be able to be trustworthy, not
Yeah.
necessarily, do you have to tell them your every move, but that other partner needs to be a man or woman of their word and be where they
Mm.
say they're going to be when they're going to be there
Mhm.
and, show up when they say they're going to show up if they're trying to build trust and build safety in the relationship.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
can't be
That's good.
wishy-washy and
Right.
say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z and don't
Mhm.
follow through with X, Y, and
Right.
Z. They have to understand that that person with relationship OCD is fragile.
Yes. Because they've been hurt before.
Yes,
They've
and they
been
need to be
betrayed or
handled with
whatever.
care,
Yeah. They
right? That's
need
what
to
we
be
have on
handled
the
with care.
package.
Right.
Fragile, handled with care.
Handle with care. Absolutely. Yeah, that's good because I think the partner on the receiving end, in their exhaustion of dealing with it, has the potential to be dismissive
Mhm.
of the real feelings that the individual with relationship OCD is experiencing. And that could be harmful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that could be harmful
Absolutely.
because it isn't just that this person has relationship OCD and they have anxiety. Some of that is situational based on their past experiences, past relationships, maybe even family of origin stuff. They've been
Mhm.
abandoned.
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily have to be
That's
in a
true.
romantic friendship. It could have been family of origin. It could have been friends. They may have been abandoned by friends repeatedly
Yeah.
and repeatedly and repeatedly, or betrayed
Look,
by friends.
betrayal is real. Disappointment is
Right.
real.
It's
We
real.
all go through that in life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is so true. I say all the time, if there is a woman anywhere who's over 30 and hasn't had her heart broken at least once, get ready. Get ready because it's going to happen. You're going to be hurt by someone at some point. And
Mhm.
the hurt that's inflicted is not always intentional. It's
Mhm.
not always intentional, but it doesn't make the pain any less painful, even
Mhm.
though it may have occurred unintentionally.
Mhm.
So, Dr. Angel, so what message would you share with couples who are feeling discouraged? They might feel exhausted or afraid. What message of hope might you share with them about the reoccurring doubts that they may be having, or those intrusive thoughts they may be having about their relationship.
When someone has relationship OCD, or if both partners have it, it is treatable. I want to
Hmm.
say it is treatable. It is, you're able to, treat the condition, and the relationship can be healthy. It
Hmm.
can, you can get to the other side where things are much better. No relationship is perfect
Right.
in any way, shape, or form. And if somebody tells you that, I don't know what to say to you.
They don't know what to say. They lying.
Because there's no relationship that is perfect. Okay. But
Hmm. Hmm.
they can get to the other side if they are willing to do the work,
Mm.
to get to a healthier, relationship.
Yes.
It's possible. It's
Hmm.
possible. Is it going to be easy? No. There may be some setbacks at times, you know,
Yes.
but if you're willing to put in the work, then
Hmm.
you can see a healthier relationship. And if you have to even tell yourself that while
Right.
you're doing the work, we're going to get into a healthier relationship. We're going to get
Yes.
past this. This is maybe a mountain we have to climb, but we're
Hmm.
going to get to
Hmm.
the top of the mountain, and we're going to, be there until we
Yes.
get to the next valley, right? But
Hmm. Hmm.
it's possible. Healing is possible, you
Healing is
know
possible. Yeah, I
for
love
the
that. Yeah.
treatment. The treatment, you got to do the
Hmm.
work. And
You
and
have
like
to.
you said, it may need to be some deliverance that comes in there too, in that
Hmm.
relationship.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, they have to be willing to put in the work, but it's possible for their relationship to be
Yes.
healthier than what it is. We have to
Yeah.
try to make things work.
Yes. Yes. If we are willing and obedient, if we are
Yeah,
willing and obedient,
amen.
we
So
the
so
Bible
I do
says if
want
we
to
are
say
willing
this
and
too.
obedient, we shall eat of the good of the land. But in
Yes.
this regard, if we are willing and obedient, it can make a tremendous difference in the overall health of the
Yes.
relationship for both parties collectively as well as individually.
Yeah, so I do want to say that too, to
Yeah.
the couple, that it might, or it is helpful if each one of them sees someone individually,
Yes.
you know, because
Mhm.
who knows what issues have happened, for them individually,
Mhm.
resentment,
Mhm.
or, maybe there's some anger
Yeah.
underlying, that they need to work on individually with somebody.
Yes.
Maybe the reason the person has relationship OCD is because of some trauma or different
Mhm.
things that have happened in
Mhm.
their life. And then definitely we know, like you said, IFS, the internal family systems, therapy definitely works with
Yes.
someone who has experienced trauma, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
And for that other partner, they may feel like the relationship is traumatic too,
Yeah.
because of how the person with relationship OCD has been towards them, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. That's true because they could feel as abused as the other individual is
Hmm.
feeling. Yeah, that's very true. Okay, all right, Dr. Angel. So thank you for being here and talking about this relationship OCD. So now I want you to share something about your practice, New
Something
Creations
about my
Counseling.
practice.
Yes, talk about your
I'm
practice.
I'm I'm actually in my office in Princeton.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here not too often as much because I do this part time, but I'm here a lot on Friday evenings and Saturdays. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I do love to see young people, young adults be able to transform and be able to, see themselves in a better light. I do Christian counseling as well with those
Mm-hmm.
who would prefer Christian counseling. So I do infuse scripture, infuse prayer,
Yeah.
things of that, meditation, things of that nature for those who are seeking Christian counseling as well. But yes, I run the gamut here, but yes, this is This is New Creation Counseling
New
Services, and
Creations
I see she
Counseling.
put the
Yes.
psychology today. I'm not seeing any clients anymore for this year. I'm full. So,
Okay.
but they can definitely reach out. That's my Psychology Today page.
Okay. I'm trying to put it in the chat as well. Yes, the link for Dr. Angel's Psychology Today page is in the chat because the print is so small here because I don't know if you could click on it on the screen.
I don't think you can
I
click
don't
on it
know.
on the screen, but maybe you can click on
Yeah.
it in the chat.
Okay. In
So this
the
is
chat.
different tonight that you weren't able to put this on Facebook so that we could stream it.
No, it was. I don't know what the issue is, but it is supposed to be on Facebook. Was someone trying to log on
Mhm.
to it from Facebook? They were
Yes.
having difficulties? Okay.
Yeah.
I have to look into that
Okay.
because it is supposed to stream on Facebook as well as on YouTube.
Mhm.
Yeah. So in the chat is Dr. Angel's link for her Psychology Today.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I don't know what I'm doing here, but anywho, I was trying to take it off the screen, but I don't know what I'm doing because I'm using a different platform
Yes,
of
tonight. Yes. Mhm.
tonight than I had before. I'm using Restream now. I was using StreamYard before, but okay, I don't want to say anything too much about
Yes,
Restream,
we're
but
using we're using a new platform.
I'm using a new platform and I am not finding it to be as user friendly as
Okay.
StreamYard is because uh, people on Facebook should be able to watch it on Facebook. That should not have happened. So for anyone that happened to, I apologize. Hold on. Someone said, "Oh, hey, Nicole." She said you can access the page from the chat. Oh, from for Facebook, you mean?
Oh, I see what she's talking about. I went to Facebook and you can click on it on your page and then you can get to your YouTube channel. So that's pretty good. It goes to your
Ah,
YouTube channel.
okay, okay. So they can't watch it directly from
Mm,
Facebook Live. Oh, okay, okay. See, that was different with StreamYard. They were able to do that. So say again, they can go to my page and click on it, or
and
they can
click
go
on it and then it'll take them to
to the
YouTube
YouTube.
to the video.
Oh, got it,
Hmm.
got it, got it. Okay, that's good to know. So I
Once
need
you
to say
save
that.
this, you can probably just send the link, and put it on your page. Yeah.
Yeah, but it shows up on my page because when after the podcast is over and I go on my page, I see it's there.
Okay.
Nicole said she tried it and it worked. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Nicole. Thank you for being here, and thank you for
Thank
those
you.
who have been here. This person says Dr. Angel's very professional. I think I know who that is. I see a F. I think that's your husband. That's your husband, man, ain't it?
I'm not sure. I can't see the comments. Thank
Oh, okay.
you.
Hold
Thank
on.
you
It
for
says
whoever that is.
Dr. Angel is very professional.
Okay. Yeah, I
Okay.
think
It's
that
the
is my
F on
husband.
Facebook. I think that's your husband. But
Yes.
listen, he's telling the truth. Just because it's her husband don't mean that he's just blowing smoke up her behind. She really is extremely professional, extremely knowledgeable, and New Creations Counseling and her Psychology Today link for her Psychology Today page is there in the chat. So you can click on that. And so next week we're going to
Mhm.
be talking about something called learned helplessness. And we're going to have
Mm.
another one of my colleagues on. Leah is going to be on next week, Dr. A.
Yay.
So I hope that those of you who are watching live or later will tune in on next Sunday at 7 p.m. We're going to be talking about learned helplessness. And again, like, subscribe, and share. I would really appreciate that. So, Dr. Angel, hang on for 1 second. I'm going to end the live, but there's something I want to talk to you about real quick. Okay. Good night, everyone. I'll see you next week. Have a blessed week.